So this is going to be a short book review. This actually is not the book itself. I am using this just as a template for the video. This is another book I'm going to do another video review for. Like many other videos I do, I made this video because it's a generally lesser known book. I mean, most of the topics I cover are kind of familiar in the minds of most people, especially citizens of America, the country. But as far as YouTube goes, most of these book reviews and books themselves, details regarding them, you can't find anywhere. So I figured if I'm reading these books, I might as well do a review to provide some detail and resources for others to read it and get their opinions on the books. So the book I am covering today is involving the Civil War between the northern and southern states in the United States. And there still is a lot of questioning and complications regarding who was in the right. I mean, it's pretty obvious by who won the war and by what general history teaches on who was in the right, but a lot of people in the South will deny that principle. So this book provides personal insight to that period, and some of the facts related to it, and it actually is written by a union. So if you're not familiar, those coming from outside the United States, there was two sides in the war. There was a Union side and a Confederate side. One that seceded from the country, which was the South, the southern states, the Confederacy, and the Union, which was the northern states, the ones who wanted to keep the country together. So the book is on the Union side. It's coming from the perspective of citizens in the northern states of the country who were opposed to slavery and who joined the war against the southern states to oppose that system, abolish it, and force the southern states who seceded back into the Union and establish their original Union. So the book is called A Yankee Prisoner Loose in Dixie, or another name it goes by is Beyond the Lines, by J.J. Geer, or John James Geer. His actual name in the book is Captain J.J. Geer, because he was a captain during the Civil War on the Union side. And the book is pretty interesting. I don't want to give too many details, and I can't give any because I don't really have much of my notes on hand, nor the book. But it is involving a northern minister, religious minister, who joined the war on the Union side, and he generally didn't want anything to do with the war until the South seceded and threatened the United States, the original Union, with war. So in the book, he actually says a new resolution was made on that day. It was to crush the Confederacy, to eliminate every aspect of it in any way from the country. So that book goes to talk about how this minister joined the war, and how, like the book title, he was a captain, and during the Battle of Shiloh, which I believe was in Ohio, the Union forces got routed. And there's many speculations. It doesn't talk about it in the book, but I believe there was you had Confederates on the Union side that were working undercover and kind of worked that out. But anyways, they got routed, and the captain was captured along with most of his troops, and they were sent to prisons throughout the South. And the book is, in his personal experience, talking about the treatment and the condition of the Southerners, the facts related to the war, Uh, the jails were, in the book, they were decrepit horde. You can imagine Civil War, prisons, pre-slavery in the South were pretty bad. In the book, the author discusses that point. I mean, it was rough. And he just talks about him talking about the rebels and coming across actual Confederates in prison and talking to them about why he joined the war, why is he against the Confederacy. And they were interesting features about the book which compare the Union forces and the free Northerners to the Southerners. So you have, in the South, you have decrepit, injured, non-educated rebels, for the most part, American citizens, but they're rebels. And then in the North, you have these highly educated, pretty wealthy, industrious, patriotic, religious citizens, like Captain J.J. Greer, shown here. And actually in the book, one of the Confederate prison guards, he says, "Is this what Yankees look like? They're bigger than us. They're damn prettier than us." So you can imagine, J.J. Greer, the captain, was 6'2". So he was built. He was a big Yankee, big Yankee. And to them, it was like seeing a giant, a well-built, educated, could probably read the Bible to them without seeing the Bible. So there was that. And the book also talks about the treatment of this captain in the jail. I mean, he was tortured. They were pretty much starved for 3 days, no food. So I don't know if you know, but you could go, I think it's like a week without food, but 3 days during war in a prison is a long time, and that's rough conditions. And the food that they were given was small. I mean, the meat was the size of your 2 fingers. So like literally a small chunk of meat, paper thin, and they got that once or twice a day, and it was usually sour and rancid, maggot infested. And there were actual slaves because it was during the Civil War, the South had slaves as prison guards, as workers, as a whole bunch of tasks during the South. And the captain talked to a lot of the slaves when the other Confederates weren't around, and he got a lot of intel. The slaves actually helped, as the book's name, A Yankee Prisoner Loose in Dixie, the slaves helped that captain escape the jail with one of his partners. So he was talking to him about the war, asking the slaves what they thought of the war, what they thought of the Union Army, and they were obviously advocates of the Union Army. They were against slavery. They wanted away from their Southern oppression, their Southern bondage, and they acted dumb in front of, like in the book, you'll see the slave, although he's not educated, can't really write, he could talk and express himself pretty good. And he says, they think I'm scared. These Southerners think I'm scared and oppressed by them, but I'm not. They're not as dumb as they look, the slaves. They're just acting that way so they could wait for the right time to escape, which also talks about the Underground Railroad in this book. But the slave was telling them that the meat that they eat is they have enough good meat. They're fed that rancid meat purposely by the Confederate soldiers because they just want to torture these Union soldiers. They're at war with these soldiers. They capture them. They said, all right, well, let's torture them. So they were feeding them soap meat. So if you don't know what that is, the bad pieces of meat would be thrown in buckets of grease and tallow, which is used for soap and candles. and they would grab that meat that's in there to preserve and make the candles and feed it to the prisoners, the Union prisoners. So you can imagine how unpleasant that would have tasted, you know. So it's just stuff like that, and they eventually organize their escape, and they escape out of the prison. And this is kind of like the most interesting part of the story, is them fleeing through the South, through the jungles, through the swamps and rivers, coming across crocodiles face to face, and wolves, and being chased by bloodhounds. So during this time, the South used bloodhounds. So they had packs and packs of literally bloodthirsty bloodhounds chasing these prisoners, these Union prisoners, throughout the South. And through the help of the slave, because the slave gave them a lot of advice on how to escape, because they knew how to escape Underground Railroad. They were just waiting for the right time. So he said, do this, go that way. And a lot of the slaves throughout the way helped him navigate himself through the South. But eventually they are caught again, and this is most likely as a result of a scared slave. So a lot of slaves were helping these guys, but with the high bounty on them and the risk of, at the time, possibly, if you help these guys, they're going to kill you and your family, their slaves are probably trying to help capture them too, to save their family, which eventually they do, because the captain gets led to some helpful slave's house, and he cooks some food while the master's gone. And I would assume this is the point where he was getting all the intel on where they're going so he could capture them. And eventually he is captured, but the Union forces make their way in and eventually win the war, force the South to basically give up and sign a treaty and release the prisoners. So the book is definitely not PG. It is for a stronger audience. It has a lot to do with slavery. It's a war book, so there is some blood, there is some mortalities, and some strong language. But this is a book that's lesser known and has a lot of good stuff in here. I am missing a lot of details on this, I know it, but I don't have the book on me, and I don't really have my notes, so I figured I'd just give some details for our viewers, and so they could find the book themselves. But you could find this book online. You could actually purchase it, A Yankee Prisoner Loose in Dixie by J.J. Geer, G-E-E-R. I've seen it for as low as $15 up to $25, so it's pretty cost affordable. But I found a free online site for the book that you could actually read it for free, and it's a reliable source. It's eGutenberg.com. So if you search up the title of this book, A Yankee Prisoner Loose in Dixie, and then Gutenberg, like G-U-T-E-N-B-E-R-G, you should be able to click on the free link to the book, and you can read the whole book for free. And that's pretty nice. I like that website. But yeah, I figured I'd cover the book. There's a lot of facts in that related to the Civil War. I've never came across this book, never heard of it, never seen any videos on it, so I figured I'd do the first video on it to help others with some Civil War stories and facts and lesser known details. I did come across because I read the book, but I haven't read it in detail like my other book reviews. There is a detail in this book that refers, some say all the founding fathers of the country were slave owners, but in this book it talks about how the United States was initially created against slavery. So the founding fathers, the people who left England because the King of England didn't want to get rid of slavery. So that's actually in the Constitution, but you can't find it. It's like a censored, which is talked about in the book. And how Washington, people claim Washington was this big slave owner. And in this book, it actually states what there's no man alive that is an enemy of slavery more than George Washington. So that's actually a quote by Washington. So there's a ton of facts like that that viewers and readers will say, oh, I've definitely never heard of that. That's interesting. So that's why I do the video. There's a lot more in here. Hopefully those who watch this video could read it. It's probably like a 200-page book, 250. So it's a good read. It's interesting. It's captivating. A lot of action. And like I said, it's a true story. So Captain J.J. Gear was a real man, a real captain during the Civil War, and the book is actually written personally by himself about his experience being captured during the Civil War. So that's pretty interesting. And I'm trying to remember what else I have about the book. Oh, the book is interesting. It, like I said, it's a true story, and it's personally written by himself, so it's unlike other books. It has its own specialty, its own feature about it. And in the book, he actually stops mid-narrative and talks to the reader. It's like he's talking to you, and he says, middle way through the book, and he says, I'll pause right here for the viewers and readers that they could conclude slavery being the cause of all the issues in the United States, which is pretty true, and that's what the book claims. That's what the captain and the preacher says, and which is probably generally true, you know, because the United States is a large country. I'm sure if slavery didn't exist, there would be other issues like taxes, corruption, and stuff, but likely it would not affect the country as it has now, like the role of slavery and the existence of it in this country. So another detail about the book, I would recommend people to read it, and I'll cut this video short because I am already pretty long in this video. I'm already playing with stuff, shouldn't be playing with stuff, but yeah, if you want to read this book, you could purchase it, or maybe you could look around online. Like I said, you can find it for free at Gutenberg. And yeah, hopefully I purchase the book soon so I could actually get a better video review and some personal details on the book for you. But this is just a short review. Awesome. Thanks for viewing, guys. I'll be back with some more book reviews and lesser known book reviews for you guys.